We are joined by the head coach of the Bee Diggers, Larry Mills. And Coach, in week 4, your team lost their second consecutive game to Fort Morgan. Let me ask you, have you ever had a team that has taken such a quantum leap in 9 weeks, where you went from a pretty good running game and a limited passing game and a defense that had trouble stopping the run to a defense now that has been able to hold their own very well, to an offense that has a pretty good passing game, at least one that's been able to operate at key times, and a running game now that has gone from good to, I think, very good, if not great?
Well, we've worked really hard, John, since we were 2-2, but when you're 2-2, you can either do one or two things. You can work harder or you can quit, and there's no quitting these guys, and I appreciate the hard work that they put in. And Saturday, we're just lucky to be still playing. We played in some really tight ball games that could have gone either way, and we were just fortunate to come out ahead.
Now, you told me that Eaton, and I'm sure we've all seen it, has been a good of offense as you've seen, very balanced, have a great passing game and a very good running game. Would you consider Faith Christian, from what you've seen on film, as effective in a different way because they do have a different style?
Well, that's true, John. After watching Fort Morgan's tape and Florence's tape with Faith Christian, if we don't play a little bit different brand of football on Saturday, they're going to run all over us. We've worked really hard. There's no way that I think that we're going to stop Faith Christian dead in their tracks. I wish I could come up with a formula to do that, but one of the advantages they have, it's like playing the single wing. We have never faced that this year yet, and I think that's what happened to Fort Morgan too, is their offense is so different than anything that we've played against. It makes it really tough for us to do it. They get so many people in front of the ball carrier that it makes it really hard to tackle the person. It's kind of, we run the Maryland Eye, which is similar, but we only do it on short yardage and stuff, and we don't spend as much time as Faith Christian does on the double wing, which is even more versatile than the Maryland Eye and a lot harder to defend.
Sterling and Rifle have big offensive lines. Would you say Faith Christian is above those two, more intimidating, or it's just a different style of offense altogether?
Well, both. They'll put, I think their line averages, their offensive line averages 240, and they're all big, strong, and they'll come right at you, and they'll pull backside guard and tackle, and then they'll block down with the wing, and they double team everybody on the line of scrimmage on the side they're going to run, put a guy in motion, pitch him the ball, and then the quarterback and the fullback leads up in there too. So they have like 6 blockers in front of the ball carrier, and it's hard to get to him. They don't even have to block some people some of the time because he just tucks in behind them and nobody can get at him. So it's tough offense, and one that we're going to have trouble stopping, I think. But again, like I said earlier, the best defense for us would be for us to have the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I asked the Faith Christian coach, Clint Fick, if he would make any adjustments in order to try to control Junior Flores, because no team has really been able to do it, I guess, since the Fort Morgan game. For a player in the trenches such as Tillman Holloway, who is 6'3", 305, do you try to double team him when he plays defensively? Do you have to make an adjustment for a player that big who's a Division I player next year? Or do you just go with what's gotten you here so far?
Well, in our offense, it's hard to key on one person in our offense, just like it's hard to key on one person in their offense, because we do so many different things to get him the ball, and if they key on him, it'd be a break for us. But and if we tried to key on one of their players, it'd be a break for them, because we have never done that at Brush High School, and I think that's the reason for our success. If you don't stay with what got you to the dance, you're not going to be in the party very long. So what we need to do is make adjustments in the scheme that we try to do, and if we can't do it, it's going to be a long day. And if we can make some adjustments, and if we can run the ball a little bit, and Bobby can continue to throw the ball like he has been lately. I think it's 9 games now in a row that he's thrown a touchdown pass, and at least one touchdown pass in each game. And last week he had 2. It's been really a good run for him, and he's getting better every week. And the more we work on it, the better he's been getting. And we're not going to be able to run against that big front that they have. They have 6 guys, and on defense too, that go over 220 pounds. And again, Holloway's 305, and we're definitely not going to blow him off the ball. So what we have to do is find out which side he's on, and they move him around a lot, and hopefully we can guess right some of the time.
Would you say if you're forced to pass in this game, maybe between 15 and 20 times, you're in trouble because so far in the playoffs, it's been that predictability with that element of unpredictability that has made that passing game so well? You know, the two-point conversion that you went for, that wasn't so unpredictable, but of course the option pass, the times you've scored on the passing game, you've thrown very few passes in that game. Again, if you have to throw the football too much, will that spell trouble for your team? Would you rather run it a little bit more? Because I know in the couple of Eaton games, especially the first game, you wanted to throw the football a little bit more and establish more of a balance. But of course, in the rifle game, especially in that rifle game, you barely threw the football, but you had a key 59-yard completion to Junior Flores. And then last week, again, you didn't throw it too much, but you found Mike Tall for a touchdown, Larry Holter for a touchdown. Perhaps you could have caught 2 touchdown passes on a beautiful fourth down throw by Bob in the end zone that just went off his hands.
Well, we try to pick the times that we throw it. If we do like Eaton does and come out and try to throw with somebody, that'd be ridiculous because we don't spend near the time doing it, or else we wouldn't be able to run the ball like we do. So we don't have that kind of personnel either. So we need to pick our times when we throw the ball, and we need to make sure that we do it off of play-action pass for the most part. But I know Clint does a great job coaching, and it's going to be interesting. You know, football games are nothing but chess matches, and you try to do things, but it usually boils down to the team that does the little things best, blocking, tackling, and fundamentals, that comes out winning. And like I said earlier, any team that can beat Fort Morgan and keep the ball away from them for a half, basically only running one offensive set and then having just a kickoff, because Fort Morgan's a great football team. And I would just want to say right now, I really feel bad for Rick and the Mustangs, because they had a great season and they're a class act, and they got a great bunch of kids. And the first thing I thought of when I found out that Faith Christian won was that I was excited to be playing at home, but in the next second I was really felt bad for Rick, because he's done an excellent job, and the Mustangs are just a super football team and a super bunch of kids. And hey, I'll tell you what, I feel really bad for the seniors, but for the underclassmen, they're going to be that much tougher next year just because of that. And if I was a betting man right now, I would say that they will start out the season #1 and will stay there most of the season, because they've got a great nucleus back, and it's going to be really tough for the teams, because they'll rededicate themselves to winning that state championship that they lost this year.
No doubt, because David Valle, their junior quarterback, and Joel Dreesen, a junior tight end and a great defensive player, will be back next year. Of course, David Valle is a very good defensive player. Let me ask you something. Because of the problems you had on extra points, now that you mentioned that Faith Christian Fort Morgan game, knowing that Faith Christian won that game on a 2-point conversion, I know you'll probably still attempt to go for extra points, but of course you faked it on your first one last week, and I don't know if that was a design fake, although it looked like one. Does that change your thinking at all, and maybe you'll go for 2 points? You might not want to tell me now, but is that a possibility?
Well, anything's possible. You know, anything's possible. We could line up and kick 50-yard field goals. That's possible, but it's not probable. But I can't answer that question, because if somebody would have told me we'd have passed for 2 touchdowns and thrown for over 150 yards last weekend, I'd have said that's very improbable. But things happen in a football game. You just have to go with what you feel, and that's exactly what Faith Christian did in the situation they were in. And I was in that situation once in state championship game and went for 2 and didn't make it, and we lost 14-13 when we could have kicked the ball and tied it up. But everybody says, well, kick the ball and tie it up, but that's not a sure thing either. There's a big chance that pros miss them, and high school kids are probably not able to handle pressure quite as much as pros are. And so you're 50-50 either way, and sometimes you feel good about what you're doing running the ball, and sometimes you don't, so you feel like kicking. So I'm not sure what I'd do yet, and probably won't know until I see how we're moving the ball and how they line up and all kinds of things that enter into it. It's just not something you say, well, I'm going to Saturday I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because they may not let us do this and they may not let us do that. So you have to go into each game and be flexible enough to try to do something different if something else doesn't work.
Let's talk about the running game a little bit, since you were just addressing that a second ago and speaking about the two-point conversion. Brian Kaler has been playing both sides of the football tremendously. He's got a lot of heart. He's a little bit undersized going into this game. Doesn't mean he can't get the job done. This basically leads to this question. Will Kevin Stroud be able to play a key role at all, or is he still bothered by that injured ankle?
Well, we held him out last week and only played him like 5 plays, and that was just as a blocking back. But he's going at 100% this week, and we run him hard tonight, and we hit him pretty hard, and he looked really good. And Brian was hobbled a little bit in practice this week with bruised back, and towards the end of the game, I was hoping that football game was about over, because we were pretty banged up, and Brian couldn't have played much longer, and so we were about out of fullbacks. But both of them are healthy now, and they'll both get a play. But right now we're going to start with Kevin and see how long he can go. Right now he looks like he could play the whole game, and he's healthy, and he's got fresh legs actually, and a lot better shape than he was in even 2 weeks ago when he played up at Rifle and played really well the first quarter.
That's a very good sign. Faith Christian has been an exceptional second-half team in each of their last 2 wins over Florence and Fort Morgan. Meanwhile, your team has jumped out early against Eaton with a 14-0 lead in the first. Against Trinidad, you had a 28-7 lead at halftime, and in the Rifle game sandwiched in between, although you got out to the early 7-0 lead, you trailed in the third. Because of their big offensive line, big offensive and defensive lines, do you feel you have to get out as big of a lead early in this ball game because they have the possibility of wearing you down, or is it just play 4 quarters, see what happens?
Well, actually, it's play 4 quarters and see what happens and hope that you can get out to a big lead. But when that doesn't happen, you still have to play, and you just have to kind of go with the flow and hope that they don't get out to a big lead, because both our offenses aren't made to come from behind by good numbers. We're going to have to stay even and stay in the ballpark, and I'm thinking Clint thinks the same thing, because the double wing is great for killing the clock, but it's not a great offense for scoring a lot of points in a hurry, because it's a 4 or 5 yard at a time, and then break a long one here and there and hope you can not turn the ball over before you score. And that's basically what we do too, what we try to do too. We're not quite as good at it as Faith Christian, but we try to run the ball up inside a little and then break it outside once in a while, and a little misdirection here and there. But it's going to be like Clint said and like the paper said, it's going to be a smash-mouth football game.
Finally, Coach, let's talk about the great Junior Flores, because I think individually, although this is a team game, he does deserve final consideration here because of the year he's had. Have you ever had an all-state player at both sides of the football? And if not, or even if you have, would you merit consideration for Junior Flores being an all-state player? We know he's going to be an all-conference player, at least on one side of the football, but as an all-state player on both sides of the football, would he merit consideration for the year he's had?
Well, I'm pretty prejudiced, and I think Junior is one of the best backs in the league and in the state, both on the offensive side and the defensive side, and there's great backs, but what makes Junior so good is he can do it all. He blocked field goal last week. He intercepted a pass. He 9 unassisted tackles, ran for 177 yards. And what is amazing, he's not that big a specimen to do that, but he plays with a lot of heart, and he's just as nice a guy off the field as he is on the field. Doesn't have a big head. He credits his line, which have done an excellent job, and that's where all of his yards start. He wouldn't be very good if he didn't have those big linemen up front blocking for him, and they've done an excellent job for him all year long. But Junior is as good as they get. He's broken all of our rushing records at Brush and the touchdown records. Nobody scored 33 touchdowns and 202 points ever since I've been here. And I think since I've been here, most of the records that Brush have come under when I've been coaching.
Well, Coach, we congratulate him, the rest of the players, and of course you for an outstanding job on the football field. Best of luck against Faith Christian. Let's hope we bring home the state title here.
Well, thanks, John. And I just want to I want to throw in a little plug here, because the Eaton, the band did an excellent job, and the cheerleaders and the crowd were out there in force. And we had more people, I think, than Eaton did, and you did a great job. And the community's really come together, and I appreciate all the hard work that the Andersons have done, putting a crest on the football field over the day, painting the numbers and the lines and stuff, the hard work the maintenance crew has done, and the administration for the backing we've gotten. And it's just, now it's turned into a community thing, and again, it's great to be in the state championship. It never gets old, believe me. I've been there a couple times, but it's great to be back again, and each one brings something different. But the best thing of all is we played 5 out of the last 6 on the road, and it's great to be back home, and I love Beat Digger Stadium, and it's great to be back there, and I'm looking forward to a big crowd and a big showing on Saturday.
It is a tremendous facility. Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
That is Brush High School head football coach Larry Mills, and when we return, it is time for kickoff of this Class 3A state championship game between the Beat Diggers and the Faith Christian Eagles. We'll have it for you next following this timeout on your 25,000-watt sports information leader in Northeast Colorado, AM 1010 KSIR.